Ever feel like the rules have changed? You know, how things work, especially for men navigating, well, everything. We're diving deep today into something that tackles exactly that. It's an ebook. UK Immigration, Legal and Illegal Methods by Conrad Riker. If you're looking for a really sharp, kind of unfiltered take on how the game's being played now, this is definitely for you.
Yeah, it's not your standard report, is it? No dry stats, really. Riker's book is much more about observations from the ground, looking at the surprising, sometimes, let's face it, uncomfortable ways people are dealing with the UK immigration system.
Exactly. And it's a fascinating way to look at bigger societal shifts, too, how people adapt. So think of it like a field guide to this changing landscape. Immigration's the focus, sure, but the insights on how systems work, or maybe don't work, they tell you a lot about the bigger picture.
Right.
Our mission here is to pull out the key stuff from the ebook, especially how it shines a light on institutional shifts and how men are, reacting to this new reality.
And if you want the whole story, the full unvarnished perspective, you can grab Conrad Riker's UK Immigration, Legal and Illegal Methods on Amazon Kindle and Google Play Books, too.
Absolutely. And hey, if you find this kind of deep dive valuable, do us a favor, hit like and subscribe. Help others find the show.
Definitely. And for more from the author directly, Conrad Riker's on Substack. It's at Conrad Riker.
Okay, let's get into it. The book jumps right into the post-Brexit situation, makes some pretty direct claims about male migrants. What stood out to you first?
Well, it hits you straight away with this assertion that post-Brexit, non-EU men are really dominating the skilled visas. And the author puts this down, partly at least, to what they call an inherent drive to conquer.
Drive to conquer, huh? And they mention specific routes, right? Like the Tier 1.
Yeah, the Tier 1 investor visa. Basically buying entry with a big investment. The book suggests this appeals to a certain mindset, proactive. Get it done.
Right, that sort of initiative-taking approach, finding a way through. And it names specific industries, too, doesn't it? Where this drive is supposedly still key.
It does. Oil rigs, trucking, plumbing. Examples where the ebook argues testosterone still matters. That's the phrase used.
That's blunt. And it draws this contrast, this divide almost between London and the North.
A really sharp contrast. London's painted as full of, the book calls them HR harpies, maybe bureaucratic hurdles is a kinder way to put it, whereas the North is described as a place where banter earns promotions and beards boost pay. So different rules apply culturally.
Wow. Banter and beards. That's quite a picture. And there's this recurring theme. Weakness dies here. That's pretty intense.
It is. It's a very direct message. And I imagine, that might resonate with some listeners.
And the author uses examples to back this up, right? There was one about a nurse.
Yeah, the Filipino nurse. Rejected for a pediatric job, supposedly lacking empathy or something, but then approved as a trauma surgeon. The book uses this to illustrate what it calls the system's brutal logic, basically. Valuing men in roles needing quick, decisive action under pressure.
Almost like a return to pragmatism. Results over everything else.
Kind of. The book even brings up Florence Nightingale in the Crimean War. How she just needed capable people, didn't care about quotas when lives were on the line.
That's an interesting historical parallel.
Yeah.
And this links to observations about the economy shifting, too. Manufacturing versus tech.
The author notes Manchester's manufacturing sector seeing growth post-Brexit, contrasting it with London's tech scene. Suggests a shift in what skills are maybe becoming more valued, regionally at least.
And the anecdotes really drive it home, like the Nigerian electrician in Leeds.
Right. Supposedly got a raise because he just focused on the job, didn't get involved in what the book calls pronoun game. It's presented as this sort of Brexit dividend, a return to valuing practical skills above all else.
And there was another one, the Indian engineer.
Yeah. Moved from tech in Shoreditch, London, up to Sheffield Steelworks. Apparently tripled his salary. And his boss, a former coal miner. It all paints this picture of traditional industries, traditionally male skills, maybe finding renewed value outside the capital.
The construction point, too. Northern firms hiring male migrants because the work's tough. What was the line? Frostbite doesn't care about your gender studies degree.
Pretty raw, yeah. It's a blunt take on the physical reality of some jobs.
Okay, so from there, the ebook moves into navigating bureaucracy, specifically asylum. This gets complex and
It
controversial.
really does. What's striking first is the data the book presents on asylum claims. You see high initial rejection rates,
Right.
but then much higher success rates after appeal, which, suggests the system can be navigated. If you're persistent, use the appeals process. The book even mentions tactics like filing in Welsh courts to cause delays.
Strategic delay. Okay, and then there are the, let's say, creative strategies the book talks about, the LGBTQ plus persecution playbook.
Yeah, that's quite something. The ebook claims some straight men are basically inventing stories, fabricating persecution, even making up pride parades in places like Nigeria to bolster their claim.
Wow. That definitely raises questions about, well, the integrity of the process.
Absolutely. And the potential for gaming the system. The book even mentions focusing on really tearful stories about ex-gay conversion therapy as a potentially winning strategy.
It's quite cynical. What about just disappearing, working under the radar?
That comes up too. Blending into the gray economy. There's an example of a Bangladeshi student just quietly running a pressure washing business, cash in hand, off the books.
Shows the limits of state control, I guess.
Exact. And the ability to just operate outside the official structure.
There's a darkly funny one, too. A Ukrainian guy in Peckham learning Millwall chants.
Haha. Yeah. Mastering the football chants and rhyming slang to, as the author puts it, out-stupid the system. Basically using cultural camouflage.
Blending in. Seems like a recurring theme.
Very much so. The book even notes, kind of bizarrely, that LGBTQ plus asylum claims from Pakistan apparently had a higher success rate after RuPaul's Drag Race got popular in the UK, suggesting cultural trends might even play a role.
That's wild. And the advice on claiming bisexuality, the Swiss Army knife of asylum.
Again, cynical, but the book presents it as a perceived loophole. Cites a Nigerian claimant wearing a Freddie Mercury t-shirt as an example of signaling, I suppose.
And it claims firms are actually coaching people on this, showing them film.
Yeah, it mentions immigration firms screening films like Brokeback Mountain, apparently to teach the right emotional cadence for testimony, how to perform the story convincingly.
But it doesn't always work, does it? There's a warning in there, too.
Right, the cautionary tale. The Pakistani guy whose claim got rejected because his story about a pride march during a Taliban lockdown just sounded completely unbelievable, overacted, basically. So even the performance needs some credibility.
Okay, so from asylum tactics, the book shifts to the cash economy, tax avoidance. Another area of, let's say, unconventional approaches.
Definitely. This part really lifts the lid on the hidden economy. There's this character, Edie, the Albanian tarmac guy.
Right, the tarmac maestro.
Yeah, runs his whole business in cash, counting. A basic Nokia phone. His view on tax. The book quotes him saying, "In Tirana, we say taxes are for people who can't run fast."
Tells you everything, doesn't it? Paints a picture of this whole other economy running in parallel.
Absolutely. And the book even suggests learning things like Cockney rhyming slang isn't just color. It's a survival skill in that untaxed world. Helps you fit in, understand the code.
So cultural adaptation again, but for very practical reasons. And it gives actual tips for staying invisible.
Oh yeah, very blunt advice. Keep moving between areas, change your look, use burner phones, dress down, don't attract attention. The basics of staying off the radar.
And the pawn shop principle, what's that?
Basically, turn cash into easily hidden, untraceable assets. Gold, jewelry, things you can manage outside the banks.
Right. Avoid the formal financial system. And the story about the Brazilian cleaner at Heathrow sounded like a spy novel.
Really did. Luisa, using encrypted WhatsApp groups labeled Book Club and Burner Sims to coordinate cleaning jobs and supposedly outwit border force checks, it just shows how basic tech can be used to operate under the radar.
And the irony of that newspaper expose.
Yeah. The Sun runs a story, Illegal Immigrant Next Door, trying to drum up outrage. But the ebook says it basically became a how-to guide for people wanting to avoid detection. Gave them tips.
Unintended consequences. And there are specific rules mentioned. The 3-2-1 rule.
Yeah, for phones and vans, have 3 phones, 2 vans, only 1 register. Constant rotation. And advice like avoiding NHSGP registration, just pay cash at private clinics if you need care. It's a whole system for minimizing your official footprint.
It's incredibly detailed. Blending in culturally keeps coming up. The Moroccan electrician quoting Del Boy.
Exactly. Using bits of popular culture to seem local. Or the Ukrainian builder in Liverpool picking up Scouse slang. The book argues Brits are often clueless about their own regional variations, so it's easier to blend than you might think.
Fascinating. Clothing, too. Like the street vendor.
The Nigerian guy selling stuff on the street, always wearing West Ham football jerseys to fit in with the local crowd in East London. Simple, but effective camouflage.
And financial. How do people hide income?
The book gives examples. Like the Romanian gardener has a nice Mercedes, but officially declares very little income from his registered gardening business. The real money's cash in hand. Same with a Syrian baker in Manchester. Report a bit, keep most of it quiet.
And the book claims this is actually safer than speed.
Statistically, yes. That's the stark point it makes. Tax enforcement for small-scale cash work is apparently so under-resourced, you're less likely to get caught doing that than for a minor traffic violation. A pretty bleak assessment of priorities.
Okay, let's shift gears again. Workplace dynamic, institutional changes. This feels central to the book's overall argument.
Yeah, this is where it really gets into the impact of broader societal trends. Contrasts what it sees as ideology versus practicality. Starts with Dr. Rajesh Patel, thriving in Yorkshire, supposedly without needing diversity programs.
So, questioning the need for those initiatives everywhere.
That's the implication. The book goes further, asserting men are often, evolutionarily hardwired for high-pressure roles. It's a very controversial biological argument.
And it uses examples like the Nigerian nurse again.
Yeah.
In a workplace context.
Right. The same nurse reportedly rejected from an NHS job for lack of empathy because he wouldn't sign up to specific trans allyship pledges. He apparently sued, won, and then thrived in private practice. The story is used to challenge current D&I norms.
And the tech startup example with the feminist CTO.
Yeah, the anecdote claims her startup's payment gateway failed because the all-male dev team focused on fixing the tech, not the ideological signals the CTO wanted. It presents this clash between competence and ideology, with ideology losing out, practically.
Wow, okay. And it links earning potential to testosterone.
It does. Suggests male visa applicants often show higher earning potential metrics, partly due to testosterone-fueled risk-taking. Again, a very provocative biological link being drawn.
And the advice is to target jobs feminists supposedly avoid, like plumbing.
Essentially, yeah. Target shortage occupations, frame any side work as entrepreneurial venture. It's presented as a strategy to bypass perceived ideological gatekeeping.
The bakery story fits here too, right?
Yeah.
The one rejecting the macho chef.
Exactly. London bakery owner turns down a skilled male chef for too much macho energy. Meanwhile, a rival shop, presumably less concerned with that, flourishes. It's framed as ideology-hurting business.
And family businesses are
The
different.
book suggests they often ignore equity quotas, prioritize blood loyalty, old structures resisting new trends.
And it gets into relationships, alimony.
Yeah, brings up the impact of alimony on men's earning. Even mentions a supposed trend of men undertaking religious conversions to monkhood specifically to avoid alimony. Calls it an alimony avoidance strategy.
That's extreme. And the Johnny Depp trial comes up.
As an example of needing to document everything in relationships now. And the value of countersuing aggressively in divorce, a more confrontational approach. But it also warns that men representing themselves in divorce often do badly. Suggests hiring a lawyer who sees it almost as sport, particularly against feminist opposition.
Right. What about the Army medic example?
The former medic, whose direct, no-nonsense first aid training is apparently preferred by CEOs over HR-approved courses. Again, competence versus bureaucracy. Practical skills valued over process.
And the medieval guilds. What's the connection?
The book draws a parallel. Medieval guilds used informal tests, like drinking games, to vet members. It contrasts that with modern diversity workshops, implying the old ways might have been better at judging character and fit, even if informal.
And the claim, wokeness kills earning potential, citing Leeds finance bros out-earning London ones.
Yeah, a direct, controversial shot at current corporate culture, linking adherence to certain ideologies with lower financial success. And it ends that section praising workplace banter, saying it can actually help careers, tapping into those traditional male interaction styles.
Okay, so let's look at the next section, rewriting the border rulebook, blending in, staying under the radar.
Right. It starts with another anecdote, the Zimbabwean farmer. Fled land grabs, claimed asylum, now runs a successful steakhouse. A story of resilience, adaptation.
It mentions the numbers who just disappear after asylum fails.
Yeah, a high percentage. Underscores how hard deportation orders are to actually enforce. People just melt away.
And the LGBTQ plus asylum route comes up again.
As a relatively easier path, yeah. A known vulnerability or feature, depending on your view. And the choice many make. Overstay, work cash in hand rather than risk detention. A calculated risk.
The kebab shop guy, Ahmed, with multiple identities.
Just illustrates how fluid identity can be in the informal economy. Easy to be multiple people, hard to track.
And the point about love conquering borders faster than paperwork.
A reminder that human relationships often find ways around bureaucracy.
Construction keeps being mentioned as the real shadow economy.
Absolutely. And tips like renting rooms from landlords who distrust the government, to avoid registration scheme, more ways to stay off grid.
And the warning about NHS walk-in centers.
A real danger zone for the undocumented, according to the book. Easy place to get flagged.
Then it gets even more creative. Trademarking your name to annoy the Home Office.
Yeah, presented as a way to troll the system after a visa rejection. Pure obstructionism.
Using AI to write asylum appeal, even ridiculous ones.
Leveraging tech, ChatGPT writing appeal, maybe exploiting translation loopholes with Google Translate to obscure or change meaning. Gaming the language aspect.
Scraping LinkedIn for HR buzzwords to sound convincing.
Exactly. Using the system's own jargon against itself to craft a believable narrative.
And bartering skills.
Building informal network, trading favor, skills for help navigating the system or finding work, community reliance.
The book emphasizes just how many visa overstayers there are and how adaptable they become.
Yeah, suggesting persistence and resourcefulness often win out over legal status in the long run.
And the whole section on accents and cultural knowledge for blending in, it's quite detailed.
Very detailed. Abdul from Dhaka learning Morris dancing. Someone mastering Cornish patois using Sun Tzu. Arvidas in Sheffield saying, "Hey up, Chuck!" And Rhea in Liverpool nailing Scouse. It really stresses deep cultural immersion as camouflage.
Even mumbling is suggested as a tactic.
Yeah, just Don't be too clear, don't draw attention, and bartering in rural areas, a return to old ways post-Brexit.
Weaponizing bureaucracy itself, EPR, understaffed council.
Using the system's own rules and inefficiencies against it. Slowing things down, making yourself hard to process.
Using charity shops for clothes, avoiding the NHS again, and marrying a dog.
That last one sounds like a satirical extreme, surely, but it illustrates the supposed lengths people go to just to delay deportation or throw a spanner in the works.
Okay, this leads into a really pointed critique in the book, the impact of perceived softness and ideology on border security.
Yeah, this is probably the most contentious part. Cites a Dover border agent, Sarah Wilkinson, whose high asylum approval rate was apparently often overturned later, presented as evidence of initial lenience.
And the stats about female judges.
The book highlights a correlation. More female judges on immigration tribunals since 2015 and asylum approval rates soaring. It presents this correlation as causation, suggesting a link to gender.
And detention centers offering yoga, vegan menus.
Used as examples of the system being, in the author's view, too accommodating, too soft, funded by taxpayers.
The judge who got fined for calling a claimant a liar.
Judge Peter Smith. The book emphasizes he was partly done for sexist language, framing it as political correctness overriding truth-telling.
And the influence of NGOs led by women.
Points to a high percentage of women leading UN-funded NGOs that shape UK immigration policy, implying this contributes to the perceived softness.
Contrasting Victorian border guards with modern agents doing unconscious bias training.
A clear value judgment, pitting old-school toughness against modern sensitivity.
Male lawyers using national security arguments being more successful.
Another comparison. National security arguments framed as masculine and effective versus human rights arguments implied to be less successful or associated with female advocates whose intervention supposedly lowers deportation rates.
And the suggestion of testosterone screening for judges.
That's way out there. A deliberately provocative proposal highlighting the author's core argument about masculinity and effectiveness.
Holding up Australia's Operation Sovereign Borders, run by ex-military, as the better model.
Yes, presented as tough, effective, results-oriented, the opposite of the perceived UK approach.
And contrasting the cost of bias training at the Home Office with record channel crossing.
A stark juxtaposition used to argue current priorities are misplaced and ineffective. The final metaphor is basically pronouns defeating patrol boats' ideology over security.
Right. Then the book circles back to exploiting these perceived weaknesses and building independent structure.
Yeah, more strategies. The Ukrainian mechanic using burner phones for pay negotiations to avoid AI monitoring his tone. Very 21st century.
And the idea of men's risk-taking being an advantage again.
In the shadow economy, yes. More willing to operate outside the rules, take financial risks.
Using slang, avoiding banks, we've heard those. What about marrying a Lithuanian trad wife?
That's presented as a strategy for lower divorce risk, combined with burying assets offshore using crypto like Monero. Extreme financial and personal autonomy seeking.
Weaponizing cultural ignorance again.
Yes, and contrasting Spartan training with participation trophy border checks. Another critique of perceived modern weakness.
The weight bench story. Diversity teams trying to remove them.
Presented as ideology clashing with practicality, even basic physical needs in holding facilities.
Men negotiating raises more aggressive, applying military precision, building empires with crypto and overstairs.
All presented as alpha strategy, building alternative power structures outside the mainstream. The patriarch pyramid, a family-based business model.
Homeschooling sons with practical skills, marrying a nurse for practical support, treating parenthood like warfare.
Yeah, the language gets very strong. Outbreeding the native, emphasizing practical skills, graft-hardened work ethic over degrees.
Exploiting dodgy college, the Nando's network for jobs.
Highlighting the informal networks and loopholes within the system itself. Cash work being rampant. The night tube as the underground railroad for the shadow workforce.
Adapting quickly if one type of work gets clamped down on. Mastering dying trades for cash.
Staying flexible. Using burner phones, generic accounts to juggle multiple jobs invisibly. The book talks about the sheer number of ghosts in Britain now.
Draws a parallel to Victorian tramping artisans.
Yeah, historical precedent for a mobile, undocumented workforce.
And the red pill truth about visibility being female privilege. Staying liquid.
Core ideas from that sphere. Financial flexibility, staying under the radar as male advantage, exploiting unused national insurance numbers.
Contrasting birth rates again. Assimilation as Darwinian. Learning accent. Practical skills over woke ideology. Borders as temporary. Genes as forever.
It pulls together a lot of the previous themes into this worldview, focused on long-term strategy, adaptation, and rejecting mainstream values.
Which leads into the final main section, the explicitly anti-feminist visa strategy.
Yes, it directly frames strategies in opposition to feminism, exploiting proof of relationship loopholes for spouse visa, seeking wives from Eastern Europe perceived as more traditional.
Reclaiming male space. Why does the book say that's happening?
It claims young British men feel professionally neutered by DEI initiatives, leading to a rise in male-only groups seeking spaces away from that.
And the idea that equality and excellence are mutually
A
exclusive.
very stark claim, directly challenging egalitarianism.
Birth rates, IVF for gender selection, religious exemptions from gender-neutral schooling, treating parent as warfare again.
These schemes return, framed as deliberate strategies to counter perceived feminist influences and demographic decline.
Criticizing woke initiatives in essential services like the fire brigade.
Arguing competence is being sacrificed for compliance. Needs must come first.
Exploiting asylum appeal, anchor baby, overwhelmed judges, low deportation rates.
Revisiting system weakness, framing them as opportunities for strategic exploitation.
And the anti-marriage playbook, living in vans, burying assets.
Prioritizing financial sovereignty above all. Tax advantages of handyman businesses. Staying solo, building wealth independently.
Offshore mailboxes, physical gold, avoiding taxes.
Yeah, extreme financial secrecy measures.
Trading romance for MMA, higher life satisfaction for single men.
Suggesting alternative paths to fulfillment outside traditional family structure. Focusing on fire, financial independence, retire early. Volunteering, legacy building outside family.
Male social clubs again, the Fellowship of the Ring analogy.
Emphasizing strong male bonds as crucial support networks.
Investing saved wedding costs, earning abroad, buying cheap property.
Practical financial strategies for independence.
Cash work, the Viking playbook of high birth rates in family businesses. Milking child tax credits while working cash jobs. Burner sims.
Combining traditional family models with modern methods of avoiding scrutiny and maximizing state benefits alongside hidden income.
Motorway service stations as the new frontier for residents.
A slightly bizarre, almost dystopian image of living entirely off-grid.
Humor and common sense against ideology. Weaponizing cultural ignorance. Banter-friendly policy. Mastering British insults.
Tools for cultural navigation and workplace success for migrant men, framed in opposition to perceived political correctness.
Avoiding welfare to attract partners. Higher satisfaction for self-made men who skip oppression sensitivity seminars.
Reinforcing the value of self-reliance and rejecting victim narratives.
The patriarch pyramid as logistics. Citizenship as a mercenary contract. Exploiting the NHS as a visa lane.
Transactional views of state systems.
Focusing on STEM. Negotiating hard. Dual citizenship. Exporting skills. Stashing wealth.
Strategies for maximizing economic advantage globally.
Then it gets into really out there stuff. Growing a beard to fool AI. Stage makeup for passport scanner. Vaseline on webcam.
Yeah, the end pushes into almost sci-fi territory of deception, exploiting biases and facial recognition, mastering dialects for voice checks, silicone noses against thermal cameras. It's about audacity over authenticity.
Exploiting Britain's cultural enrichment fetish. The ESL to escort pipeline. Home office, secret spouse. Visa priorities.
Cynical takes on how the system supposedly really works behind the scenes. Prioritizing trauma porn over skill. Weaponizing woke buzzwords and application. Performative loyalty.
Dumb loopholes. Hand-drawn maps. London fog. Night shifts. Dressing right. Cockney slang. Cash construction gig. Becoming a ghost. Bicycles. Avoiding NHS seeming harmless.
A final flurry of practical tips for blending in, working unseen, avoiding detection.
Hire your own. Outgrinding the competition. The lion mentality. Alpha migration. Taking what you want.
Ends on a very aggressive, uncompromising note about the future.
Wow. Okay. That is a lot to unpack. Certainly provides a very different perspective.
It really does. Conrad Riker's ebook, it's raw, often provocative, and definitely looks at UK immigration and the strategies people use in a way you won't find many other places.
So just to recap this deep dive into UK immigration, legal and illegal methods, we've seen the author's take on how individuals, particularly men in this context, are adapting, sometimes exploiting perceived weaknesses, ideological shifts within the system. It covers this huge range of tactics. Some cultural, some bureaucratic, some outright subversive, all aimed at navigating this changing world.
Yeah, it's undeniably a unique lens, often contrarian, presents anecdotes and viewpoints you just don't hear in the mainstream discussion.
Absolutely. And like we said, while it focuses on UK immigration, those underlying themes, how people react to complex systems, adapt to changing values, the shifts in institutions, they resonate much wider, don't they?
Makes you think about the unspoken ways people are getting by everywhere.
It really pushes you to look at that interplay between individual action and the big structures. And the strategies people use, often hidden from view.
Exactly. Unconventional, the unsanctioned ways people navigate.
So if this discussion has got you thinking, and you want the full, detailed perspective, we definitely recommend checking out the ebooks. UK Immigration, Legal and Illegal Methods by Conrad Riker, available on Amazon Kindle and Google Play Books.
And don't forget, you can follow Conrad Riker for more of his insights on Substack. That's at Conrad Riker.
As we wrap up, maybe here's a thought to leave you with. In a time where the rules seem to be constantly shifting, where society's norms are evolving so fast, What are the real limits on what individuals can do? And what are those unseen strategies, the ones we haven't even touched on, that people are using right now to navigate it all? Something to mull over.
That's a big question. Makes you want to look past the headlines, doesn't it? See what's really driving things.
Well, that's us for this deep dive. Hope you found it interesting. Please do hit like and subscribe so you catch our next exploration. Until then.